Right, hello, so hopefully I don't look too terrible. So I was ill yesterday, quite a strange thing, but I'll tell you all about that in a minute. I think some of you already know from just PMing me and asking me if I was all right. And then today my ulcerative colitis has been shitty being the operative word, this morning, even though it was actually all right yesterday and it was another issue yesterday. So anyway, yesterday it was, I had really bad hiccups with acid reflux type stuff the night before. And I ended up really pulling a load of muscles in my chest. So it hurt to talk, it hurt to sit in certain, positions. So basically most of yesterday I spent laying on my back listening to the radio, because at least it wasn't painful to move about when I was on my back, because I guess it was relaxed, the diaphragm there. So that was that. And then this morning, although my chest is certainly a lot better today, it's still a bit sore. My ulcerative colitis was really bad this morning. So of course, this morning I've had some of these, which I'm sure anybody with colon problems knows what Imodium does, but it's very good stuff for that. Vostok, it's a brand of Russian watch. So basically, plasma ball in the background, bear this in mind. I've been using one of these for ages, and I've had a load of problems with it recently, and it's because I've been doing loads of stuff with electromagnetic stuff. Vostoks have been to space, though, so there is that. So the Amphibia is the really famous Vostok watch, if it focuses, the Vostok Amphibia. I've had this one for yonks, although it has got a slight problem with it. I can't repair myself because of like weird Soviet tooling used. If it wants to focus, come on, there we go, green scuba dude. So the one I've got now is quite cool. So what this one is, and it actually comes with a good strap, which is amazing for a Vostok. It was one of their like more special edition ones. So it is an Amphibia. It's an Amphibia without the date on it, and I actually really like that, because for those of you who've never set the date on an Amphibia, you'll probably know it's a real pain in the ass. So it's Amphibia sort of standard face piece. It's still the 31 dual movement, but no date on this one. So you can see how it moves there. It still has the really nice sweeping movement. So it has the automatic movement in there as well to wind it, or you can, obviously just wind it manually. And the case back's the standard Scuba Dude case back, if that focuses. If it focuses. I reckon the camera wants to constantly focus on the plasma ball. I reckon that's the problem. Is that the problem? Yeah, there we go. There's the Scuba Dude. So yeah, hello to everybody. I'll try and get up with the comments in a moment. I was just sort of saying what's going on. So this is now to become my daily wear watch. I'm going to have a few more goes at servicing this and degaussing this, because this is a nice watch. But as said, the nice thing with Soviet watches, even mass-produced Soviet watches, anti-magnetic stuff in them. So they were designed so EMPs and that wouldn't break them. Turns out more modern fancy dive watches of Western design don't have that. Well, I suppose it's Eastern design technically, this, because it's Japanese, but you know what I mean. Quite a few helmets. I need to do an updated helmet collection video, because I've not done one in a while. Yeah, it is nice at least to have a Vostok with a good strap on it, because if those of you that don't know, the main flaw with Vostoks is you literally always have to change the bracelets they come with. But because this one has like a rubber dive watch sort of bracelet on it, and not the standard ugly bracelet that clanks everywhere, this is pretty good. So yeah, I like this a lot already. I mean, I've not had it long, but I'm familiar with Vostoks, and I know they're damn good watches for the price. No, well, a Rolex would be well out of my price range, Delta. I could, in theory, afford some Rolexes, but the idea of spending several grand on a watch to me is just not worth it, because, it could get stolen, it could get lost. I'm good at breaking things. I've never been a fan of G-Shocks. I just don't like the look of them. I'm always, as much as I know in a lot of ways, modern digital watches are superior to these old sort of analogs. There's something I really like about wind-up analogs. I've seen ones with wooden cases, if that's what you're on about, Iron Man, and I've seen the weird slow watches, which are like ones that don't have a minute hand. All they do is have the hour hand. But in theory, you could turn any watch into that if you just took the minute hand off and the gears are all still connected. So yeah, anyway, hope everybody's all right. As said, shitty morning, pardon the pun of my ulcerative colitis. Plasma balls on, because I did dig that out the attic, and it is really fun to play with. And I said I've now got a watch on that won't break by going near a plasma ball. But yeah, for the people saying how many helmets do you have, how many gas masks do you have, it's a bit of a hard thing for me to answer because I'd have to manually help them all up. But anyway, I hope everybody's good. No costly Swiss watches. I've got some cheaper Swiss watches, VL, and I've got one of the German World War II watches that I think at one point they had made by the Swiss, but most of them were Austrian and German made, I think. Canadian C3s have been going up in price at the moment. They're not worth loads of money. They're nice masks, but yeah, I've got a couple of ammo boxes in the background there. I use ammo boxes a lot for storage of like materials, so Polish MC1 Yorkshireman Preps is very good for what it is. It's a very basic mask, but it's good for that. As in clearing it, as in like getting gas out of it. The exhale valve's one that's designed so you can't cover it very well, which is a problem. Seiko make good watches, at least T55. That's the thing I said. The reason I always go back to Vostoks is they don't cost very much because there's so many of them on the surplus market. So you essentially get a brand new watch that was built, you know, with the mentality of AKs and everything else in mind. Like, for the people that don't know, Vostoks obviously are nowhere near as accurate as Rolexes and things like that, but Vostoks are literally made so you can't break them. I'll try it, Iron Man. I have porridge now and again, but it might depend how watery it is, how milky it is, if I put honey or other things with it. Yeah, Iron Drac, what's going on here at the moment is Britain's mostly easing up lockdown. As of 4th of July, lots more lockdown things are being eased up. However, here's the problem. We're already getting local spikes in some areas where people have been, you know, breaking social distancing, doing what they want. So now some areas are having to put stricter rules in place. So I would say yes, Jaden. There's videos you can find of Vostoks being put in pressure chambers. And the amount of effort people have to go to break Vostoks is pretty amazing. The crazy thing with Vostoks is I think somebody did a pressure test on these and they got it ended up breaking at like 800 something meters worth of pressure. You know, they're built for 200 meters, but I think that says something about Soviet design quality when your dive watch basically can survive further than man can dive in the ocean. No, I've not got a metal detector. I've got Geiger counters and that, but not a metal detector. All right, last sword I got, Potato Farmer, was that 1860 Cutlass that I did a video on like a couple of weeks ago, a month ago. Obviously not any more since then. And I said at the moment I'm trying to be careful because obviously if you know how bad the economy is going at the moment, it might not be a good idea to keep buying surplus stuff. What about, for some reason, Andrak? Yeah, these are basically for Russian special forces and like Navy personnel. I think the idea was that, you know, divers could have them on their wrist or outside the wetsuit or the dry suit and they wouldn't fail at, you know, depths people would dive to. Right. As far as I'm aware, VL, there thankfully aren't a lot of fake Vostoks around just because there's so many on the surplus market. Yeah, that maybe, Chad, that will be, can the Vostok survive the upcoming economic collapse? That will be a good question on the durability of Vostok. So Vostoks, you can get them on Amazon and eBay. Most of them are fine. Just look for sellers with good feedback because obviously they're the ones who normally bulk import them or, you know, deliver them. Now, I will say this with Vostoks. With a lot of the models of Vostok, you will want to change the bracelet on them because, as I said, the watch themselves are very good. The bracelets are shit. Thankfully, this one has like a rubber kind of dive bracelet on it, not the old clunky. Komandurski's lovely as well. But yeah, so I just find it funny that, you know, my 1-and-a-bit-year-old Mako 2 has been bested by Vostoks again in terms of just durability. I might be able to get this going again, all right? It's just, I hate it when you get nice watches like that and something just goes wrong on them. So anyway, let me have a look for you on eBay anyway. I don't know if there's many checklists other than the fact that, as I said, Vostoks aren't very commonly faked, at least, if you're getting them from proper sellers, because, you know, there's so many on the surplus market. Let me just get you up like a seller I know that sells legit ones. So this guy has 98% feedback, and he's got loads and loads and loads of Vostoks of various models for sale. I don't think there are quartz Vostoks, and nearly all the weird Soviet mechanical movement is 31 joules normally on the Amphibia, and I think 17 on the thing. But yeah, if you want to get a Vostok like my old Vostok, this one, that still works perfectly, I just had to remove the rotating, automatic movement because that got loose and I didn't have a tool that would, refix it. Let me see if I can find you one. They're normally called Scuba Dudes. And that's the green Scuba Dude, that one. Basically, all the faces have different numbers, so it helps if you know what the face numbers are. Because you can get them in like case combinations, bezel combinations, everything else. I think this one looks nice as well, although this wasn't the one I was looking for. But like the black and orange or black and red Scuba Dude ones. Yeah, similar looking thing, isn't it? So that's a pretty cool one. The one I've got is basically that, but in green. Same bezel and case design. Let me just find the green one. The blue ones are pretty popular, but... Right, I think this is the one I've got there. Yeah, it is. Right, so if you wanted the one I've got, Angus says give him a shout out. There you go. So yeah, I'm pretty sure the one I've got here, just I've put a custom bracelet on it, is the one I've just linked there. I wouldn't watch Archie Luxury if you wanted actually good opinions on watches, because he's basically a guy... firstly, I don't know if you know that, he's actually a parody channel, because the real guy's called Paul Pluter, isn't he? But basically, it's a joke channel saying that any watch is shit unless it costs a certain amount of money. The thing is, I do find some of his videos funny, but do not watch them if you want serious opinions on decent watches. And again, Vostoks are good if you watch the tests people physically do on them, trying to break them, and they can't. Again, Vostoks are not going to be as accurate time-wise as a Rolex, but a Rolex isn't going to be as accurate as a cheap quartz watch, is it? Just because of how technology works. I actually really don't know, VL. I know, like, lots of things have them for kind of industrial disaster use, but... yeah, I'm pretty sure he does, Scott, doesn't he? But... Right, what do you want it for? If you wanted it for street cred, showing off a watch, all the stuff like that, F4B, and accuracy, a Rolex is better. If you wanted a watch you could abuse the shit out of and it would keep working, then clearly a Vostok. I'm glad you like the videos, Angus. But yeah, so as I said, there's videos on YouTube where like people are putting Vostoks in industrial freezers, dropping them off bridges, running them over cars, all that sort of thing. You know, it is actually hard to break a Vostok. If you manage it, well done. I think you should be on the Soviet quality assurance team for like durability testing things. But the whole point of the Vostok was it was kind of made unconventionally, so bits were stronger than they should have been. Like, the interesting thing of a Vostok as well is the case back is totally different. So the Vostok's case back, the cover is separate from the locking ring. So how a Vostok works is it's got a bigger O-ring. You've got a locking ring that secures the case back onto the O-ring so it sits neatly and doesn't cause damage to the O-ring. All right, Mike. I came on a bit early, but that was just because it was a bit convenient to do so. Yeah, the thing is, I can understand totally why people like G-Shocks. It's just personally I don't. But, you know, I think G-Shocks for most people are perfectly, you know, like really good watches. That's all right, Snorky. So yeah, let's test the Loom on this. Again, the Loom's not going to be brilliant on a Vostok because they're kind of like first gen after radium looms, but yeah, it's not bad to my eye. But yeah, again, it's not the brightest Loom in the world. Funnily enough, the 6 hasn't been painted totally well. I don't know if you can see that there, but if I charge the 6 up, part of the 6 doesn't quite glow. But the nice thing of this one compared to my other Vostok, this one actually has a glowing bit there. This one doesn't. Oh, we've missed you, James. Where have you been? Well, I thought you used a different name before, didn't you? Your name was Connor before, but you still had the same profile picture. Right. The Orient is here, basically Alpha Omega. The issue is, see the plasma ball in the background? What happens when you get a nice watch? And this might apply to Rolexes as well, I don't know. What happens if you get a nice watch like this and put it near too many electromagnetic fields? You might know the answer to this. This was one that was one of the special edition ones, Dustin, that a UK seller had, so I think it's been recently serviced. I wouldn't rely on that, but as it came at the right time and everything. Now, this watch doesn't have a compass. I do have compasses, but yeah. But yeah, the issue is, if I wind this one up, I think this will start working again. Yeah, that's the thing, Mr. Grench. That's why I like them, because they kind of backwards engineered it, didn't they? And then came up with something outside the box rather than... So let's set this to the correct time, because we're actually on the 1st at the moment, aren't we? Not the... There we go. So Tuesday the 1st. Now, it's 2 o'clock. Pretty much. Let's see if I can get this going again. But yeah, there's definitely been magnetism fucking with this watch. That sounds good, Werner. If you got sort of, is that like a mask and gloves and stuff like that? I don't know if they still issue Vostoks or Raketas or whatever, but Raketas and Vostoks were like the big kind of brands of Russian watch during the Cold War. I suppose you could, Iron Drac. But yeah, that's the problem with this, is the magnetic fields have really fucked this, so... now and again it will start ticking for a while and then it just stops. But I should be able to get this going again. It might just be don't put it near anything magnetic for ages, you know. Yeah, it's because the seal is designed, isn't it, that rather than just being a brute force seal, it's the deeper you go, the more the seal presses into the other bit of the seal. That's good then, Werner. That's interesting, VS, but I know there's ended up being loads and loads and loads of them stuck in warehouses, didn't there, after the fall of the Soviet Union? Although both my Vostoks are the ones that say made in Russia, not CCP, because they're obviously older Vostoks. Yeah, I've got a demagnetizer, but it's not been all that successful with it. I'll keep trying it. The thing is, I think the Orient I should get going again, but the thing is, for a reliable watch, I think I'm just going to go back to a Vostok, just because it's simple and works. All right, Hype. Yeah, there is an Amphibia that's made, might be by Rakata, but it's like $1,000. It's better than the old ones, but I wouldn't pay that for a Vostok, you know. So that, so there you go, Hype. If you like old Russian mechanical watches, here's one of the best watches ever built, in my opinion. My second Vostok, because this Vostok is slightly damaged over the years, but still keeps ticking. My more modern Japanese watch of higher quality, oh dear, it stopped working. I don't really mind watch diameter size. I think it often just comes down to what I think feels nice on my wrist. But Vostoks, although a lot of people think they're on the small side, they don't bother me, but I've not got really chunky wrists, so that's not... Right. If you're buying them, Aurora, in Russia, or maybe some ex-Soviet countries, they might be really cheap. Generally, in the UK, or like America, they're like $50 to $100. Right. Basically, plasma balls, the magnetic field wrecks mechanical watches, is what I found out. Although Vostoks have anti-magnetic properties on them, which is one of the demands the Soviets put on the watchmakers. So yeah, if you don't know of this, look, let me show you. I'll put the buzzer off because the buzzer's annoying. But we'll put this to 30 Rontgen. Look, 30 Rontgen per hour. It's the same thing as a Crookes tube. See, plasma balls set them off like the other things do. So I've got a video coming up on that because somebody said to me, like, oh, does the plasma ball do the same thing as the Crookes tube? And the answer is yes. But yeah, don't get a nice Japanese watch is the answer near a near a plasma ball. Yeah, that's basically it, hype, which is why it sets off Geigers and that. It doesn't, as I said, the Chinese Geigers, like the PLA ones, the older one, the Type 75 and that newer one, the green brick ones don't get fooled by it because their cases are too good. I don't know if they can like that iron drac, but I think the idea was that they could be near magnetic fields and they still, be accurate and not seize up. Also, I love with a Vostok, if they do stop moving, you just literally do that to them and then they start ticking again, because Russian design stuff. Well, not all Vostoks are the same. The Amphibia is the one most people really like when they talk about Vostoks, because it's, like kind of the Soviet Marine watch. It's the equivalent of a Soviet, like Rolex or Omega sort of, Seamaster, whatever. They're the Soviet dive watches, basically. Vostok did a lot of watches. A lot of the civilian ones are probably a bit crap. Komandirskis and things like that are good, but a lot of people prefer the Amphibias. Right, World War I helmets. No, the closest I have to a World War I helmet is obviously one like this, but this is a Mark II, but, same sort of design. And I've also got an M1918 Swiss helmet, but that's probably from, like, any point in the Cold War. Just the point is that, the Swiss kept the World War I design helmet around for, like, 60 years. All right, cool. See you, hype. All right, Rajiv. I've played Verdun, but not the one that came after Verdun. What was the one that came after Verdun? Tannenbaum? I've not played Tannenbaum. Cheers. I only put it on today because I just felt quite ill and shivery this morning, so I put this on to warm up a bit. But again, that's because ulcerative colitis. Yeah, I think Alpha Omega, it's just because I've been messing with 5 to 10 kilovolt voltage supplies with magnetic fields attached to them. Tannenberg, thank you, Werner. They do to a degree, don't they, Mr. Grinch? Because the problem is if it magnetizes parts, that's when the problem comes. But the problem is, anyway, just magnetic fields in general, if it gets magnetized, like you can magnetize a screwdriver, it starts messing with the reliability. That's cool, Adam. The thing is, with Vostoks, there's so many different variants they did, didn't they? All right, see you, Angus. Have a good day. But yeah, the thing is, I'm sure I can get this Orient going again. What I'm going to do is take the case back off at some point, when I've got a proper work station to do it on. I'm not messing about other things at the time or drinking, because that's not going to be a good combination. Make sure all the bits still seem intact inside, and they did last time I checked. Give it a full wind up, give it a really good demagnetizing thing with a degausser, and then hope for the best. But as I said, Vostoks are cheap for what they are, and they work. What's any idea what went wrong with it, Adam? Because Vostoks are generally very easy to get going if you've had a fault with them, because there's generally nothing all that serious that will go wrong with a Vostok. Because it's just a very, rugged, machined mechanical watch. All right, Fox Sickness. Yes, Aurora. Let me demonstrate what happens, as I already did with another Geiger counter. If you put a Geiger counter that doesn't have enough shielding near it, near anything with high voltage, electromagnetism, that type of stuff, you get completely false readings, or it kills the electronics. So at the moment, we're getting regular readings, sensible readings, if it wants to focus on it, because it's brighter. I'll put the speaker on, actually, so you can hear what happens. So, but yeah, when it's close enough, it thinks it's being exposed to like 1 Rontgen per second, which it clearly isn't. But as you can see, the numbers are completely screwed up on there now. But yeah, the point is that lots of equipment like that has to be really well shielded, or it doesn't work in strong electric fields. which is why, you know, as much as people are laughing at those Chinese Geiger counters with the funny, like, aluminium or steel cases, they don't do that. They give you an accurate reading. That's a plasma ball, that one there. I've done it as well with a Crux tube. But, you know, plasma balls, lightning balls, they're pretty fun things. This one was in the attic. But, yeah, you know, the electricity basically goes through you to the ground. They're like a very kind of tingly shock. But how they work is they're very high voltage but high frequency. And for whatever reason, it means it doesn't fry you. I mean, I'm sure there's still ways you could accidentally damage yourself with them. But plasma balls, you can get them really cheap on eBay, actually, like USB plasma balls. Although Big Clive said it's probably not a good idea to power it from a computer in case of a power surge. But yeah, plasma balls are really cool. They basically have very, very high voltage, high frequency step-ups in them. And then they essentially have what's like a Tesla coil in the middle. And then that shoots out through an inert gas like argon or something. Why would it make your fingers smell fox sickness, or has it burnt the flesh? But yeah, they're cool thing, those. But again, like I said, you can light light bulbs with them. You can do all sorts of things. All right, cool, Adam. What was that, the Vostok you're on about? But right, compared to a quartz, nowhere near as good. Obviously, most quartz watches, like per month, lose or gain a few seconds. A Vostok will probably lose or gain a few seconds per day. But even Rolexes, you know, like a couple of seconds, 3 seconds a day or so, because a quartz watch is just simply way more accurate because it uses a completely different mechanism. But, you know, a Vostok isn't bad for a cheap mechanical watch, especially if you consider how tough they are. I think Seikos are nice, but the thing is, my favourite Seiko watch is actually more like a dress watch, and the only reason I really don't like that Seiko for a lot of things is simply because it doesn't have any Loom on it, so it's useless in the dark. So if you're anywhere that's not got bright lights, you go to look at the time on it, you can't see what the time is. Yeah. Yeah, the Seiko watch I got when it was reduced when I used to work at Argos, so I got employee discount with it and it was reduced. So I got one of the Seiko dress watches for like 50 quid, but it's got a semi-mechanical movement in it. Yeah, cool out from Amiga. I'll give that another try because I've got a demagnetizer. And I reckon I can get it working. It's just a case of doing it enough times, being patient, you know, and then not reintroducing it to strong fields. I don't know, Keaton, unless they sell them themselves. I don't know. Good. I really don't understand the point. I mean, I know people make a lot of money if they have a cheap watch that they can pass off as an expensive one, but you know. Yeah, let me see if I can find that Seiko watch I've got, because it should be over there. It's quartz, but it's quite interesting because how it works. I just need to work out which watch box it's in. I'll be the one that says Seiko. Also, I found my old Vostok box with dust on it. Oh. Well, I've not got the watch in this box, have I? Where is it? I have a weird feeling I put some of my watches all in one box. Or they're in a drawer or something, where I've worn them and then taken them off to put them on the drawer. Rotaries everywhere. I'll drop the drink. No, I don't know how to play it. Is the simple answer to that. But yeah, there is. I have got somewhere quite a nice. It's a discontinued model, but it was whatever they called. It was basically where what were we on about? Seiko did a load of, you know, basically automatic style movements, but in a quartz watch. My granddad's got a radium watch he gave me. It's currently like disassembled, you know, so I can use it as a check source. But he wore it for like since 1940 something all the way up until like 1980, 1990 something, and it never caused him any harm. But, you know, I wouldn't recommend wearing a radium watch. But yeah, I didn't want this entire conversation on this stream to turn into watches. I don't mind it because it's been quite civilized. But, you know, the point is just wear what you like, and, you know, the more reliable it is, the better. But loads of people now just say, I look at my phone for, you know, the time or whatever because it's simpler. But yeah, the thing is, Adam, I really like Rolexes for the history of them, you know, being a really high quality dive watch when they did a lot of that stuff, because old dive watches are just really cool because they had to be so mechanically strong. But yeah, that's the thing. I certainly wouldn't want to knowingly wear a radium watch, but obviously painting them was a lot scarier than wearing them. Is that the old-fashioned terrorist watch, Alpha Omega? Or whatever they called it? I think I know which one you mean. Yes, somewhere I do. Or we have several of those. But yes, the very basic rubbery little strap and the little rectangle digital thing. Somewhere, but no idea where. But I know when I used to work in Argos, they were one of the most popular watches we sold because they worked well. The thing is, yeah, I just like it because I can do that and see what the time is. Also because I like Loom in the dark, so, you know, when you're in the dark, you can see what the time is now. See you, Yorkshireman. How does Geiger counters relate to the watches? But I'm glad you enjoyed them videos, Mr. Grench. Other than, you know, you might find out if you had the watch on if you've been exposed to radiation, I guess, if it stops ticking. Or if the Loom on the watch suddenly gets brighter because of gamma rays exciting it. But yeah, Vostoks are just really nice. The reason for those people who wouldn't wear, people I think just really like Vostoks, is because they're kind of an underdog watch that was really, really tough. I've already done a video on that, Whisper Ghost. I'm not sure if you've seen it and then are pretending you haven't, or you haven't seen it, but I've done a video on it. So a mini monitor versus a Crux tube or plasma ball. Am I being really dumb? I can't think what a mini monitor is. Oh, do you mean a mini instruments one? Right. My mini monitor doesn't actually have the probe on it at the moment, but I would not fuck around with a really nice Geiger like a mini monitor with that, because you don't want to break, you know, expensive good ones. It's like the same reason you wouldn't, you know, on purposely do any damage to an antique one, you know. It's interesting to stress test it, but you don't want to get like a really nice alpha mica probe that costs like £100 and then go, oh, let's run a stupidly big charge for it. I think CO2 weapons might be used a lot more for riot things, VW. People talking about watches mostly hype. But yeah, because I know a lot of riot things use like CO2 paintball guns, don't they, and stuff like that. But I don't think CO2 guns are ever going to become a big military thing. But I think for riot control, CO2, you know, like weapons, compressed air weapons might still be a thing. If you put these next to these, they don't drain at all, as far as I'm aware, because the ion chambers in them are shielded. Let's try it. Assuming it doesn't give me a horrible shock. Right, now let me look into the light. Yeah, it's still at 0 Rontgen. So yeah, ion chamber dosimeter pens are actually a lot better at not giving you false readings, but ion chambers in general are good like that, which I'll eventually get around to doing a video explaining the pros and cons of ion versus Geiger counters. Yeah, I mean, that'd be really cool hype. I mean, I do like Soviet stuff like that just because it's cool. Yeah, that's the problem with radium stuff, Mr. Grench, is radium eats into the like zinc phosphors and all that they used to put on them. Oh, what, where it was just completely overloading? Yeah, it was demonstrating what the plasma ball did. If it looked like a clear M17 Aurora Borealis, then that would be the XM27. Right, I've never used a Sundstrom SR100, but from what I know from people who have used Sundstrom masks, Alpha Omega, for like, you know, industrial type things, Sunstroms are meant to be very good and very comfortable. Let me get one out, Hype, and I will let you know. It makes bulbs light up, so I imagine so. So here we go. I've got a packet in here of wrapped up Soviet little tubes, SI3BGs, because they're super cheap to buy, because most people have no use for these because they're the stupidly high range ones. That's why like SBM 20s and all that are the popular ones. There we go. Let's get one out without damaging it. There we go. So Soviet SI3BG, these are like the 0200 Rontgen tubes that are used in things like DP5s. Let's see, will this ionize the gas in there if I put it here? Yeah, there we go. I don't know if that's going to be visible on camera, but that's definitely glowing. Let me turn the light off so you can see it. It's quite pretty. But... So this is, you know, part of the problem with Geiger counters, because of what happens to the gas inside them. See that? Don't know will it work that way. Yeah, there we go. A little bit. Yeah, about there is where it really glows. But yeah, that's why you get the crazy readings with Geiger counters and those, because it's just the inert gas inside starts ionizing. But as said, you know, the cool thing you can do with these, just get these sort of bulbs and do that. It pulls air through the mask, Adam. Basically, or pulls air through the filter, so it breathes for you, essentially. Well, it doesn't breathe in and out of your lungs, but it's moving the air for you. So you don't have to worry about air resistance. And it makes the mask positive pressure. I don't think it actually reads anything, or it doesn't read very high. Let's flick it on and have a look. I'll just put it onto the lowest volt setting. I'll put the prongs in different... I mean, it might give me a better reading if I hold one of the prongs and then... let's have a look. Oh, no, it is getting a reading. Hang on. Not if I do that. Let's put one on there and one on my hand. The numbers just basically jump around loads. So it'll give you a number, and then it will go, you know, up and down. It's quite hard to show on there, because... But the point is, you know, you don't get a stable reading. The numbers jump around constantly. Right, here's the problem, Gordano, of those. Some of the hoses, and Hype can probably tell you this, some of the hoses are better than others. It depends which factory made them or whatever else. So you could buy one, it could be a NATO ripoff, it could be a GOST one, it could be some sort of weird one that accepts GOST filters but seems to screw into NATO masks. You know, and all that sort of stuff. Istvan says, may I acquire a shout out? There you go. I've probably not pronounced your name right, though. But Chinese hoses can be good, but like a lot of Chinese stuff, it depends on the quality of the factory and the shift when it was made. I do have some Tritonite somewhere. It might be in the gun safe, though. But the Tritonite barely gives a reading now. Because obviously, if you think the Trinity test was 44, 45? 45, wasn't it, Trinity? So if you think how sort of many half-lives some of the bits of gravel there essentially have had, it's ever so slightly higher than background, but you essentially have to find a room with really, really low background radiation to put a Geiger counter right on top of it on the most sensitive setting to actually get a reading. But yeah, Hyped just answered you there, which is the same thing I was saying, but I basically just learned that stuff from him, that, you know, that's the issue with a lot of Chinese stuff, that there's some very well-made Chinese stuff, and then there's other stuff that's, you know. I'm trying to think what would power on, where it would actually turn on its own accord with a plasma ball. Because obviously, if it's something that has batteries in it anyway, that's not going to... I know some of it is made in prison factories, Adam. Yeah, hello, Angus. You said you're back several times. Hello. For example, LED bulbs won't light up on plasma balls, as far as I'm aware. What, night vision looking through it at the plasma ball, or what? There he is. I'll keep the cap on for now. All right, with the room lights on, but the cap on it, the plasma ball just looks like a plasma ball, just, you know, in a single color. I'll see what it looks like a bit closer, but I don't want to get too close to it because obviously night vision is nice. From there, it just looks like looking at it, a plasma ball normally. Let me just flick the light off a minute and see how impressive it looks. I mean, yeah, that looks cool. Let me just show you what this looks like. But if I can get that in frame properly. All right, there we go. And then which way do I want to go? Hang on, bear with me. This is pretty always hard to get right when you're trying to do this. Am I going the right way or the wrong way? Probably the wrong way now. Right. Where is he? There we go. That's what it looks like in the dark with the night vision. All right, Gretchen. Yeah, I'm not going to do it with the Pulsar. I'll need to dig out one of the cheaper night visions. They're probably in one of the drawers somewhere. But yeah, it would be a good, interesting thing to do, but I won't do it right now. But it's nowhere near Halloween yet. But yeah, the point is it's cool. Yeah, I won't do it with yeah, we do know it excites phosphors because obviously it excites other stuff. Weirdly though, the tritium doesn't react anywhere near as well as it does with the Crux tube. There we go. See, the tritium lights up a bit with the phosphor on it, but not as much as it does on the Crux tube. I mean, it'd be more obvious again with the light off, but I get that to balance there. Weirdly, you need to kind of conduct electricity through it to do it. But yeah, this tritium barely glows anymore on its own accord because it's had so many half-lives, but it does excite the phosphor in it very easily with certain things. Fiestaware won't do anything with it because Fiestaware itself is radioactive, but Fiestaware doesn't glow in the dark or anything. Mike's brought a lot from Prepper Shop before, as in Weapon Collector, I think, but I've not really used them before. When I power the SOX back on, I can try that, but I think the SOX will just go to its max reading and then maybe conk out. All right, Class 2 instructor. That's pretty cool, Class 2 instructor. Yeah, I know what you mean by IR illuminator. Yeah, mine's got, even though mine's, you know, Class 1, it's got an on-off switch for the IR illuminator. Right, which series do you mean by World War II in colour? Because unfortunately there is multiple series called World War II in colour, so I'm never sure which one people mean when they mean it. Are you on about the one that was really popular on Netflix a while ago? But yeah, I think I've seen a couple of episodes of that, but not the thing. I've got all of the BBC, The World at War, or whatever it's called, on DVD, like the entire box set of that. They have a really famous World War II thing. Yeah, I'm just doing an earlier one today, Adam, because I wasn't able to stream yesterday because I had all that chest pain from where I was hiccuping non-stop the day before. And basically today, I'm going to flick that off now just because the plug gets quite warm for that thing if it's left on too long. But yeah, I wanted to stream earlier today so I could just get a stream done, and then in the evening I could relax. But yeah, basically the annoying thing was, you know, yesterday I had this awful chest pain from where I was hiccuping so much. You know, so it basically is like if you'd been coughing non-stop where you pulled all the muscles in your chest, you know, and it hurt to be in certain positions. So I spent nearly all day laying on my back listening to the radio, which is actually quite a nice change for a day, you know, a very slow-paced day. And then this morning, my ulcerative colitis was just really bad, even though it was all right yesterday. So I had to, you know, take the Imodiums, take a load of painkillers. Yeah, I reckon that camera should be really good, Mike, because basically it's the handy cam equivalent of one of these. So it's not technically as good as this one, but it is technically a very good camcorder. So there's the one obviously I use at the moment. And I think I've got it in this drawer, the Sony one. I've obviously not used it in yonks. Or do I? Ah, yeah, there it is. So yeah, it's basically Canon's equivalent of this one, Mike. But from what I understand, the Canon quality control on their camcorders is a lot better. Because the issue I've had with the Sony one, as you know, is it has like all the SD card formatting errors on it. The batteries were never very good on these. The Canon ones had much chunkier batteries, as you can probably see. I think even the smaller one has a chunky battery like that size. Yeah, the main thing I like about camcorders like these is they've got good optical zoom. I'll try it in a second, Keaton, but I don't think it will glow very much. But yeah, the main thing I like with these, obviously, is good inbuilt microphones, so you don't need an external mic. And the microphone is very much, you know, where you've got the framing. So if something's in frame, it can generally be picked up well with the microphone. I don't have a K98 pouch. But really good optical zoom, that's the main thing. And, you know, they work fairly well in low light. So if you're in the shed, you can put it at a safe distance, zoom in, and if you're talking, it should hear you fine. Yeah, it wasn't necessarily always about watches, Alpha Amiga. It's just I wanted to talk about watches to begin with because of that new Vostok, which is going to be my daily wear watch for as long as it lasts. So there was that. So Keaton wanted to know. I'm feeling a lot better now, thank you, Gretchen. It was just basically this morning when I got up, for whatever reason, my stomach was just killing me, you know, and bleeding. But the problem is, Adam, we're going to get a second wave, and then they're just going to go back up again. Right, I'll try it quickly, Keaton, but I said I don't want to power it on for too long just because the plug gets really hot. No, it doesn't really glow. No, the answer is it doesn't really glow. I think it's because uranium glass isn't really like a phosphor that's being excited, is it? It's more of an actual luminescence type thing. Yeah, the problem is, Mike, it's like that Sony one I've used for ages, you know, I used for years. It would be a really good camcorder if it wasn't for a couple of flaws. And if I'd known about those flaws in the first place, I'd have gone for the Canon model. But anyway, I'll be off in about 10 minutes. For the people trying to bring up political stuff, can we not talk about political stuff? Thank you very much, Ninos. Haven't seen you in a while, but thank you very much. Because, you know, like I said, it's nice on these streams that you can talk from people all across the world, of different skin colors, different religions, and we can all mostly get along and chat with each other about cool stuff for a stream rather than, oh, my country is better than your country. Yeah, good luck with that, Adam. I know obviously, yeah, if your sleep schedule gets really out of whack, it can be quite hard to fix that. My sleep schedule used to be all right, and then when I used to work at Argos, the issue was I did shifts, you know, some days I did late shifts, some days I did really early shifts. And then that really messed my body clock up because my body would always want to, you know, fall asleep at certain times for the shifts. And then when I stopped doing that job, my sleep pattern was just fucked. Radium itself won't glow, Keaton, because radium interacts with phosphors. As I've already shown you with the tritium, it's the phosphors that glow. That's all right, Alpha Amiga. I'm glad it's helpful because that's the thing where people asking questions about masks. Like I said, I'm not exactly qualified to talk to you about them, but if I can give you info that helps you, I'm glad I can. But right, R95 masks or N95 masks, Whisper Ghost, they're better than nothing, but ideally you want something better. That's cool, Hype. That's good to know. I said, if you didn't see it the other day, I was showing the masks my aunt had been making, which are basically like N95 style masks that she found a design for online, has been making them for people, and they conform quite well to the face. So yeah, these are pretty good for sort of basic use, but as I said, you know, they're not as good, obviously, as a real gas mask, which is something you do have to stress quite a lot to people because a lot of people don't seem to get that. But yeah, I did a video on them, but yeah, she's been sort of, she found a good design online because she does like a lot of sewing and stuff like that. She's been making masks for people. So, you know, just using old material she's got, and then they're like 2 layers of material. I think that the design I put in the description is the same one she used. If not, it's very similar. But yeah, basically, she's just been doing that where I think she's not been able to go to work for a while because of all coronavirus stuff. She's been making masks for people. Yeah, exactly, Gretchen. Don't give a fuck because the people who are laughing at you are the people who are causing a second wave at this point. How did it turn into goo? Is it just a really bad rubber or what? Morning, Ron. I'm afraid I'm off in a few minutes. Yeah, I heard there's a new swine flu. I mean, at the moment, 2020 can't get any worse, can it? But that's what the Russian optimist says. Things can't get any worse. But yeah, as said, my new pride and joy is the Vostok. Oh, you're in Leicester. Unlucky, Stuart, because is your lockdown in effect yet or not? Because I couldn't work out, because when I was listening to the news about it, they seem to be saying lockdown is of in effect or it's of in effect Thursday. You think so? Which one is it? Yeah, you could do Gregory, and that would make it even better. But, you know, as I said, personally, I think masks like that are just more to protect other people. And then what you ideally want to do, if you can afford one, is get a proper respirator. Yeah, same with me, Snorky. With my job, we've all been told to take holiday for the next month and then play it by ear there. And like some more people have been made redundant, unfortunately. I've not been made redundant yet, but you know, it's one of those cases I think where lots of companies still really don't know what they're going to do because you know the government's advice keeps changing. That's awesome, Hype. I mean, I'm assuming it couldn't run at that for very long, but no Stowhelms with decals. I've got an old World War II Stowhelm that's rusty, no liner in it and stuff like that. But no, but if you don't know about this with me already, I don't really fetishize Nazi stuff. You know, I find it interesting to collect like any other World War II stuff, but I'd be very cautious about, you know, collecting lots and lots of Nazi stuff and only Nazi stuff. Oh, that's actually really good then. I've got some pancake probes but without all the housing on them, Keaton. So in theory, if I wire them up, I've got proper alpha pancake probes, but they've not got all the housing on them because it was where you could buy spares and repairs, like the actual, flat pancake Geiger Müller probes that are inside like the Ludlum probe, and they were like 50 quid each. So I got one, and it works fine. So I've tried rigging it up with croc clips to the what's it? I'm trying to think of the name of that thing. The rate meters, but I've not got all the protective housing for them. Radiation machines, you mean Geiger counters? I thought that was a funny name for it. Just most military surplus things, so masks, helmets, Geiger counters, military protective equipment. There's some stuff I collect more of if I could afford it, and as I said, at the moment I'm actually collecting a lot less stuff just because I want to, be more prepared for if finances get really, really bad soon, because of all the bad stuff going on. No, that's fine, Pro. I just thought it sounded funny because it sounded like something that makes radiation. They detect radiation, they don't give it out. Yeah, that's the thing, though, Hype. I love stuff when it's made like that. It's made that soldiers are idiots, so they idiot-proof it. Like old British Radiacs were, if you think how tough they are. Old Soviet equipment. It's like reason I like Vostoks. Good luck breaking one. Right, not everybody. I'll probably be off in a minute, but yeah, for the people who want to know about the stuff I sort of collect or just do videos on, just take a stroll across my channel and see if anything grabs your interest. But just generally in general milsurp type stuff. But sometimes I'll get more into collecting one type of thing for a while and then go back into just general sort of thing. But yeah, the good news is I'm feeling quite a bit better today anyway. But it's been like a weird acid refluxy ulcerative colitis kind of flary time for me, so lots of bits have just been very sore or kind of funny. Yeah, cheers, Adam. I'll probably end up doing a video on this Vostok fairly soon because I know a lot of people won't be interested, but I know a lot of people would want to watch video, and I kind of want to talk about how I've had this Vostok longer than this Orient, and the Vostok is still running properly, unlike the Orient, which is kind of funny. But right, see you all. All right, goodbye. Have a good day.